We had Connor Bedard on about a half an hour ago.
Yeah.
It was great to catch up with him.
Yeah.
And they've been a great story. And we didn't reference the MJ Craig Button Olympic team projection because Connor Bedard is not on their projected team.
We don't know that yet.
No, we do know that Craig and MJ do not have him on their updated list that was
it's
just
a mock
revealed.
team.
It's a mock team
That's
from an hour ago.
out there?
Yes, it's out there.
Okay.
But like Doug Armstrong and the whole crew, they were in town for the Hall of Fame. And they're down to, I think it was Pierre saying, like 35 or 40 players. That's still a lot of players.
It is. Yeah.
Like that's...
But, dude, you know the deal. 35 or 40 players. There's some players there that basically are not going to.
So what's the point? Like, what's the point of having 35 or 40 still?
I mean, just guys that have played their way into the conversation. And prior to the start of the year, we even talking about Connor Bedard being in the mix. Probably not, right? Macklin Celebrini, maybe, but a bit of a long shot. But now Celebrini, to me, looks like he's probably a lock.
I think he should be the way he's played.
Yeah, for Team Canada. I mean, we know that predominantly it's going to be the Four Nations roster, but you know, there's some interpretations that have to be looked at and scenarios that can't be overlooked based on the way guys are playing now. So I think that's why you keep the extended list. And you know, if you have an injury in the regular season of the National Hockey League, it's quick to adjust.
My thing is the goaltending. Like they didn't even invite anybody else, right, to the summer camp. It was the same three guys that were there, and like. For me, Montembeault Dobish is the starter, basically in Montreal. How does Montembeault make the team? Yeah. How do you put him on the team based on merit?
And is Binner still like what people say, like the lock starting goaltender for the team?
I wouldn't call him a starter yet. I think that's debatable.
Because he hasn't played well.
No, he's been
Louis.
terrible.
He hasn't. I'd have him as a lock as a tandem. I think it's Logan Thompson and Jordan Bennington.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little spicy if you look back to the Vegas situation with Aiden Hill. He's hurt, so is he allowed to be in the conversation right now in November? He is. You've got Darcy Kemper, but Sam Monton, based on the way he played last year, not the start of this season, is why he's in the mix. Canadian goaltending, frankly, is not that good. Right?
No, it hasn't been. Now, it was good enough because Bennington stood on his head.
Yeah.
So
Thompson's been good this year.
Yeah, he's been really good. Yeah. He's been really good.
You know, Dregs, other than the young guys, Connor and Celebrini, which player do you think has pushed enough to get in that lineup that wasn't in it last year?
Yeah, for me, it would be Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. And this one is a bit of a spicy one. He's earned his way just based on the merits of his game, and you can envision, you know, what he can do when he's not, you know, generating offense. He's a well-rounded player, and he's very versatile, so he can play in different situations. But he has turned down Team Canada on a number of occasions. We're talking about world championships. It kind of matters when the hierarchy of Team Canada, the brass, the makeup of Team Canada is looking at that, and they want to see these guys internationally play. But he's played his way into a position, in my mind, where he's got to be there. And I'd put Mark Scheifele close, but maybe not quite on the same level of Suzuki at this stage.
How much say, like there's the management team, Coop. Like Coop's got... That's a big say.
A lot of say.
Like,
a lot of say.
He's the guy that's got to put them on the ice in situations that are critical. And he, in the decision-making process, has got to be big time.
Absolutely. And, you know, Brandon Hagel, to me, again, he's a good player. I would have no issue. And many have him as a lock on the Olympic team. Many do. Anthony Cirelli, is he a lock?
Not according to MJ and Button.
But it doesn't feel like he should be. But again, when you look at the influence of John Cooper and everything that those two players specifically have done in helping him win championships, you know, part of the Four Nations face-off, when it comes down to those final decisions, both on forward and defense, I think that John Cooper has a trump card. I do, and we shouldn't be surprised by that.
All right, let's bring in Pierre LeBrun into this conversation. Pierre, you've been reporting a lot on, you know, Team Canada and the discussions they've been having. How would you answer that question in terms of John Cooper's, I don't know if he's got a veto card, if he's got the trump card, how you would want to describe that, but how much say will Cooper have in the end results of what this roster might look like? No, we can't hear Pierre.
In Canadian hockey history,
in
putting together best on best team. There's no question about that. That's been laid out pretty simply clear to me, and that's the way Doug Armstrong wants it. I mean, John Cooper has to coach this team, might as well like it. So he does have a big say. There was a coach in the Team Canada meeting yesterday here in Toronto. Team Canada met for 9 hours from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pete DeBoer was in the room yesterday. Of course, he's not coaching in the NHL this year, but he remains an assistant coach. He coaches the D for the Olympic team. He was there, and all the GMs that are part of Team Canada. And as I reported, Steve Yzerman was invited into the room yesterday, guys. Of course, the GM of Team Canada for 2010 and 2014. And Doug Armstrong asked Yzerman to come in so that the GMs in the Team Canada room could ask him questions about the process in 2010 and 2014, and particular at this delicate juncture, right? You guys have been talking about it, all the bubble guys and the decisions. I mean, in those 9 hours yesterday, they cut their list from 90 plus. They had 90 plus names on it in September to between 30 and 40, 35 and 40 now, heading into the final 6 weeks. So a pretty big meeting yesterday.
Pierre, in your opinion, how much of an appetite does Hockey Canada have for this tournament to stay as close to what happened in the Four Nations or the roster at Four Nations as possible? Do you think that that's a big thing for them, or they're very open to just saying who's ever playing the best right now? Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you raise a really important point, because I think people, when they go through their exercise right now, I'm not criticizing anyone's mock Team Canada. It's a lot of fun to do, and there's no right or wrong. These guys aren't starting with a blank whiteboard, right? They're actually starting with the Four Nations roster and then saying, well, which guys are we actually willing to take off and which guys are coming on? So that's a different process than Four Nations, when they really did start at zero. So the Four Nations matters in many cases. That's the tiebreaker. If they're really close between a player they had at Four Nations where they won and a guy they're trying to bring on, well, you know who's going to win the tiebreaker. So Team USA feels the same way, by the way, if not even more so. Bill Guerin has been upfront about that. He loved his Four Nations team. So, there may not be quite as much turnover as people would like to see in terms of media and fans, but there will be turnover for sure. And I think for Canada, you guys and Dregs touched on it, from talking to the people around Team Canada, there's no question that Suzuki, Celebrini, Scheifele, and Tom Wilson, as I wrote with Chris Johnson in The Athletic yesterday, those are the four forwards that have probably raised their stock the most since the Four Nations last year. Honestly, on Tom Wilson, I think they would have liked the mulligan there last year at Four Nations. I think they wish they had taken him.
Yeah.
Pierre, let me just follow up on that quickly. That seems like a reaction just after what happened with all the fights. If the fights didn't happen, would we be even having this conversation?
I think so. It's got, you know what? I mean, I know that's the same thing I thought, but it's got nothing to do with the 3 fights in 9 seconds. There won't be any fights in Milan.
I do understand that. And by the way, let me just say this. I love Tom Wilson.
Yeah. No, listen, he leads them in scoring, but he also, in terms of your bottom 6 on Team Canada, I think the Team Canada management see a bit of a unicorn, a guy whose physicality brings that different dimension. And so, he's not a lock. I'm just saying he's very much in that bubble conversation, so it's very interesting. And listen, we spent a lot of time over the last week, Celebrini, Bedard. Bedard has improved his stock tremendously this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, Doug Armstrong said to me before the season, Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini have to pop, quote unquote, to get more serious into our conversation. Well, they have. Yeah. They've both popped. And as I interviewed Doug Armstrong yesterday after the meeting, and he goes, yeah, they both popped. So now they're debating those guys all the time. I don't know that they could take both. I think the inexperience, is unfortunately a drawback for each guy, but I definitely see at least one of them making it. And right now my money would be on Celebrini.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this feels somewhat consistent with what we do with the World Juniors every year, Dregs. Mm-hmm. Can't bring that guy's too much skill, can't play on the fourth line. Can't bring that guy, he's 17, it's a 19-year-old.
Can't trust that guy.
Can't trust that guy. Exactly. And you're like, well, if Bedard, Celebrini, Matthew Schaefer, if they're just better, then why wouldn't it be? Like, this Schaefer kid is phenomenal.
You know what we said at the end
phenomenal
of the
way he's playing.
Man, it would have been great to have a guy to score a goal in a big moment. Because they had all these philosophies and all these ideas about we're going to have a team to beat the USA and have this player for that. They couldn't score a damn goal.
That's the risk that they're playing. Like, they go over there and they bring a bunch of guys who are all very good. They're all great players. Right. They're all very good players. But if they don't get the offense, or, if it turns into a shootout and they can't keep up, which I don't envision being the case, but there's always going to be second guessing. That's what they've got to be thinking.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious. And Yzerman would never tell you what he said to that group in the meetings. Maybe some inside that room would convey what his message was. But again, I remind you, back in 2010, Yzerman and Mike Babcock wanted to win one-goal hockey games. They didn't care whether it was a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game. They were happy to play that way, and they picked their roster accordingly, predominantly centers up front, right? It's about how you match up, not against Team USA, but some of the other powerhouses as well. But I think it's neglect if you're not looking at the best players in November, December, and right until that final line where you've got to declare.
I totally
your roster.
agree, man. I totally agree.
Who's ready to pop?